Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now let's look through the papers and tell you what the front pages are saying. Remember the numbers to call on your TV screen, and you can also join our live stream on YouTube, where your comments and reflections about the stories we're taking matter. This morning we're joined by Uade Ahimie. He's a familiar face, you know him, and it's good to have him here again. Thank you so much, Uade, for joining us.
Good morning, Olive.
It's good to have you.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Great to have you.
All right, let's get into the story for today. I begin with our first paper this morning. Let's start off with the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch, the big story there this morning says, Wike block defiant as PDP Board of Trustees insists on convention. PDP faction locks secretariat as BOT, Wike camp hold rival meetings. And then we can see over 85 killed as flood wreaks havoc in the Philippines. Food imports soar 45% as local production falters. Truck crushes Lagos tricycle to death, injures 2. Tinubu to open editors conference November 12th. Trump's threats, federal government engages diplomats, rallies military commanders. 15% import tariff could make Nigeria fuel-producing powerhouse, according to refineries. Marwa fights for second term as 5 rivals closing. I predicted mass U.S. visa, green card revocations, Shoyinka says. Let's start with the power showdown, Wike block. So there was a court order given by Justice Omotosho in the Federal High Court in Abuja that was barring them from having this convention happening on the 15th and 16th. Then they came to Oyo State and got another judgment from the High Court in Oyo State, stating that this ban, they can lift it. And these are both courts of coordinate jurisdiction with separate judgments. Now, Wike's block has said that, this convention will not hold. The BOT insists the convention will hold. How do you think that this will play out?
It seems like Justice Omotosho is very prominent in a number of all these. Don't do this, against this, for this. Yeah. And it's becoming a regular feature. This is my opinion now. This is what I think I've observed. Every injunction seems to go through Justice Omotosho's court. How will it play out? I think, like the National Working Committee has set up a 6-man member panel to try and resolve the issue. The question is the convention meant to hold? Have they held their convention for this year? And if it's meant to hold, where will it hold? Ibadan, because of the Oyo State governor, who, like we all know, he also has his own agenda. I think that convention will hold, in my opinion, and it will hold with one faction not being there, which is what usually happens. And then, of course, the next day or the next couple of days, that will be the front page news and the headline news of convention held, who is the chairman. We've seen with the PDP this year that everything that happens when you elect someone, then there's a court order that says this person is not supposed to be elected, and that's how it's going to go. But unfortunately, if the PDP as a party and the constitution of the PDP with what it says and believes that people are having anti-party activities, then they should expel them. And that would be my opinion. And if they don't have the political and will to do that, then I'm not sure that they are ready to be an opposition party, if there's really any opposition party in Nigeria today. So that would be my take. I think that convention will hold in Ibadan. I don't know, maybe they will push the date or they will hold it silently, which is what usually happens. And you would hear the pronouncement of that
Justice Omotosho has said that if that convention holds, they won't take seriously any deliberations.
Yeah, but like I said, Justice Omotosho seems to be coming up a lot in these things, especially when it comes to the PDP. All these injunctions and all seems to be coming from. Is he a member of the judiciary, or Or because sometimes
you're tilting the line of Dr. Adetukubo Pierce on the show. He's also accused.
So because you are the lawyer, and I need to ask you, you must be able to, like they say, lift the veil and look at things from a broader perspective.
But it's what the court is not a Father Christmas. It's what is brought before the court. In this case, for example, they brought the case before Justice.
I know you are going to tell me all this. Your legal.
No. What I'm saying is they brought the case before Justice.
But it seems to be that everything that happens on injunctions, except maybe I don't see well, or I'm not paranoid. Maybe my hair is not making me think well, but Justice Omotosho seems to be in the forefront of so many injunctions in the politics of Nigeria. Why? That's a question that, well.
Okay, let's quickly, still looking on the front page, there's some other stories. I want us to take as many papers as we can. Let's quickly move to the Nigerian Tribune. If we have time, then we'll go back to the Punch. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, federal government says Nigeria winning war against terrorism, ready to partner with US. They say over 17,000 suspects undergoing trial, 13,500 terrorists killed, 9,800 victims rescued. You saw that in the video there. MAN, that's the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, backs 15% petrol diesel import tariff. Tinubu Sultan, Uzodinma, other eminent persons for editors conference. PDP crisis board of trustees appoints 6-member panel to reconcile warring groups. BOT's moving nullity. Anyanwu's camp says appeals Oyo High Court ruling. Invasion of PDP office is a direct assault on democratic values, according to Bode George. Senate in shock over $300 billion crude sales losses. And why reps threatened showdown over Tinubu's request for 1.150 trillion naira fresh loan. Demand full implementation of 2024 capital projects, 30% of 2025 projects. Ooh, okay, let's start with the big story. Nigeria is winning the war against terrorism and they're ready to partner with the US. I actually want us to read the riders. US-Nigeria cooperation resulted in delivery of a dozen Super Tucano aircrafts. Another dozen AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters to be acquired by NAF. Nigeria stands as model for religious diversity and democratic resilience, Tuga says. Trump lied to the world. Federal government must act, not lobby Washington, Falana says. So, your thoughts on the United States threat to invade Nigeria? And the federal government saying that we're winning the war. Are we winning the war?
I'm not sure about winning the war. Maybe because they're no longer on the pages of the newspapers or the headlines of the news. It seems that we're winning the war, but I don't think we're really winning the war. We need to speak more about it because it happens every day, and a lot of it is not coming out in the news. My big brother Yusuf Tuga, yes, we've acquired Tucano, we've acquired the helicopters. Are they being used? That's a big question because I was somewhere else today, and those were some of the questions we were asking ourselves. How are we doing with intelligence? You know, collaboration sometimes is not just about buying the weapons or the equipment that you use to fight. It's also about how you manage the strategy to manage how intelligence comes, how you use that intelligence and all, which could be a good way for the US to partner with us. I do feel a lot of the things that have happened that has come out of this, US has a lot to blame from what happened in 2014, but that's a different story entirely. But the truth remains that first and foremost, Donald Trump's truth message, you know, is a bit, in my own opinion, is a bit funny because they're killing Nigerians, not just Christians. They're killing Muslims, they're killing Christians, they're killing traditionalists, first and foremost Nigerians. So wanting to invade Nigeria, it could be for different reasons. It could be because you want access to some of the raw minerals that you have in Nigeria. Or maybe Donald Trump is looking for space where, I know we have a lot of beachfront where he wants to build a new Trump Plaza, you know, like he said in Gaza and all those. He's always looking for spaces close to water. But we never know, you know. That's the lighter side of it. But the truth remains that diplomatic measures must continue to go on, which is what I think the the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, is talking about.
All right,
and
let's
how
quickly
much
go
they
on a
partner.
break. We'll come back and look at more stories on the front pages and take your calls as well. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're reviewing the front pages of the papers. We've had a look at the Punch newspaper and the Nigerian Tribune, and Uade Ahimie is still here with us. Now, the phone lines are officially open. If you'd like to call and share your thoughts or contribute to any of the stories we've spoken about, the PDP convention scheduled to hold on the 15th and the 16th of November, and whether or not that will happen. And we've spoken about the invasion threat by the United States against Nigeria. Let's still look at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, and we'll take calls in between. Still on the front page, I want us to, talk about the reps threatening showdown over Tinubu's request for 1.150 trillion naira fresh loan. They're demanding the full implementation of 2024 capital budgets and 30% of 2025 budget. So there's a new demand, a fresh demand for loans.
A fresh demand almost every month. So it's not new now. Last, I think, October, it was 2.1 trillion. Another 1.15 trillion. We're borrowing our way into spending, although they would say the indices being presented are showing that Nigeria is in the right trajectory. For me, like I always say, one of the biggest things is the stability of the foreign exchange, so people can actually plan. But they say inflation has dropped. Well, we need to go to the market. There's also another headline there that food imports have gone up 45%. I remember, I think it was a couple of months ago when we were talking about, oh, there's so much food, prices are coming down. And I remember saying then that, of course, food is seasonal, and that season is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you start to see it again. And that's why there's a lot of imports coming in just to ensure that you can augment the gap within that system. But this government in the last 2 years has probably borrowed more than the previous government and the one before it. So in 2 years, it's borrowed almost monies for 12 years. That was borrowed in 12 years. They would say, oh, we're repaying our debts. But I see it as robbing Peter to pay Paul, which is what is happening. Almost every month, we're getting new borrowings. And the promise was, oh, we're not going to borrow that much. We would fix our tax system. Let's see how that comes in 2026. If they can bring more and more people into the tax bracket, I do hope so. Maybe that will reduce our spending. But the borrowings have gone out of proportion, in my own opinion. Right. Another 1.15 trillion. And I do agree that the reps need to fight back, because nobody's telling us all these borrowed monies is for infrastructure development, is for X, is for where are we? How has it been spent? Do you understand? Even the ones that are supposed to be spent for palliative measures, how has it been spent?
Who has received them?
Give us a list of the 12 million Nigerian households that were on that list. It started with 15 million, then they reshaped it to 12 million. So tell us these 12 million households, because my household has not even received the cover, and I don't know if your household
No, they didn't give you.
So those are the questions that the reps need to be asking. Are they having enough guts now to start asking those questions? Because nobody seems to be asking. Every time they bring it, those who agree say aye, and the aye has it. And the aye seems to have it every single day. And of course, the aye is going to have it again for this 1.15 trillion. That's my opinion.
Okay. Let's see other stories very quickly. Let's also check out some of the stories. I think the Nigerian Tribune has a very interesting story there.
Let's look at the top right, Joe.
Yeah, that top right is what I wanted to go to.
Senate in shock over $300 billion.
Crude sales losses.
Let me go into the details. The Senate on Wednesday received the interim report of its ad hoc committee investigating crude oil theft in the Niger Delta and fresh concerns that Nigeria may have lost more than $300 billion in unaccounted crude proceeds over the years due to alleged collusion, poor industry oversight, and entrenched sabotage networks. The committee, chaired by Senator Ned Nwoko, Delta North, was set up earlier this year to probe the persistent theft of crude oil bunkering operations, illegal export networks, and alleged compromises within regulatory and security systems, a crisis long blamed for dwindling production and Nigeria's failure to meet OPEC output quotas.
It's not news, is it?
Well, it's news.
But like you know, under the last administration, one of the major issues, to the extent that I think it was the AFCC, or were every week telling us how much crude oil was stolen and how they've been able to recover it and what was stopped. But like we always say, there is nowhere, it takes at least two people to commit a fraud or to commit a crime. It's never one person. You know, many times people always think that it's always one person. One person might be the one that actually does the actual crime. But of course, it takes someone else to buy it from that person. And this is what has happened in the industry. Yes, I do believe that there's poor oversight in that industry, but sometimes when you look at the policies, for instance, now, there's another one there. So on the left hand, I think I don't remember the 15% and tax on importation.
Yeah.
And man saying, oh, they support it because it's going to help refining in Nigeria, in quotes. Do you understand? Who are the refiners? So when you put all this together, then you start to wonder, are we serious about developing this country? You know, I was having a conversation yesterday with someone, and then everybody says, like the US thing, you're saying Christians are being killed, or someone else will come and say, I was watching your interview, the interview with Sheikh Gumi, that Muslims are also being killed. The first question is it about Nigeria? And for as long as it's not about Nigeria, then this is what happens. You would lose that $300 billion because nobody thinks about it as part of the economic development funds for this country. It's about what comes into my pocket. And like I always say, the I better pass my neighbor syndrome comes into play. And that's how I would leave that. But it's not news. So why is it shocking to the National Assembly?
Question is, what would they do about it?
That's
Nothing.
It. That's how they go.
I don't think they don't have any powers to do anything. They can invite the oil companies to come and tell them what could have happened. They can invite the security operatives to come and give them the details of how they are trying to improve the security. But in reality, I'm not even sure they can back, not to even talk about bites.
And this is what leads to a complete impunity and complete recklessness when it comes to ensuring that people are held accountable.
And I do agree
because
with
whether you like it or not, if these funds have been declared or found missing, let's see if the Godswill Akpabio-led Senate.
I don't think. So let's be careful. No, let's be careful. There's a report that says, allegedly says this. So the next thing is, based on that, then you should speak to the security architecture. Then you start to put in
security?
place. Let me finish now. Let me finish. Then you start to put in place what should be the justice process. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you understand? Because that's how it would be. Then you would send it over to the Ministry of Justice, who will not kick in all those things. So let's investigate who was there, what's possible. Then you bring in the police. Then you now go. It's a stage by stage
thing. Don't forget that this committee. But don't forget that this committee did not just work. They worked with auditors and security.
It makes no difference. So
there's no need to bring no need to bring an external security person.
Let's be careful. Again. When you do an investigation,
this is a committee, not investigation.
No. Let me finish. When you carry out an audit or an investigation, you submit a report of your findings. Now, when that is done in an organization, what will happen is that the chief executive or the board will say, okay, what are the actions that need to be taken? Oh, they have found that somebody, so you would speak to them through a disciplinary committee. For the country, then you will go through the security and justice system. You would say, okay, this is our recommendation, this is our report, and this is our recommendation. The Ministry of Justice look into this. Are you with me? If there are people that need to be investigated, you call in the police, who will carry out that investigation, and then you do those details, and then come out and say, okay, we found XYZ, and then you go to a court of law and get the warrant for you to place an arrest. So let's not just say, oh, because the Senate says that they are crying over $300 billion losses. It's over a period of time. This is over 10, 12 years. So you don't just decide and say, oh, because the Senate has no power. That's their work. They've done their oversight work.
Well,
the next thing is to pass it to those who are going to go through that process and ensure that the right justice procedure is done.
Please, I want us to move to the next paper, the Vanguard newspaper, because there's a story that I'm reading about here that makes me very sad. The right corner of the paper, Senate mulls stiffer penalty for persons ripening fruits with harmful chemicals. Now, if I go to the details of the story, in 2025 alone, Nigeria recorded over 14,000 cases of cholera, resulting in about 378 deaths and 119 deaths from food-related Lassa fever infections. Now, what are these practices that we have seen? There was a presentation, a committee was set up, and the presentation, they said that they found a rise in dangerous and fraudulent forced ripening of fruits with raw calcium carbide. Some of the things they use cooking meat with paracetamol, preserving grains with sniper, washing of fruits and vegetables with detergents to enhance their appearance, soaking of cassava in detergent or hypo solution, adding banned Sudan 4 dyes in palm oil and red pepper, use of burning tires to remove animal furs from the skin, that is momo, among others. That the morpholine used as waxing agents for fruits and vegetables is on the European Union's ban list of chemicals. Now, these practices are linked to severe public health threats such as cancer, kidney and liver diseases, and foodborne illnesses including cholera and Lassa fever. Where do we start from?
It's deep.
So we must start from the beginning.
It has,
and the beginning is
first.
There are no systems. No healthcare system, no health service oversight system, nothing. And let's be honest, a poor country or a country that has a high level of poor people are only just thinking of survival. Pomo seems to be, and let me tell you this, it's not going to stop people from eating the pomo. Because pomo seems to be the cheapest thing that you can put in a plate for your child today. Because even an egg is damn expensive. Exactly. It costs about how much? Almost 500 naira for an egg, or 300, 400. So let's be realistic. And I'm not saying that what they've done is right. But where the system has collapsed, this is what you get. And you continue to get it until we fix those systems. So the ministry or the parastatals or you know, when we do all these oversights and come out with all these reports, all, you know, with gloomy face and all, nothing is going to be done. This report is probably going to be swept under the table. But I know that where some of these things have been reported, and I've seen, there was a man, I think it was a couple of years ago, who used to soak the mango in gutter water, and he was arrested. And
what happened to him after that?
I don't know.
That's it.
You see, that's why I said the system.
That's it.
You see, that's why I said the system. So, you see, you arrest a man, then you now have to go through that process. Because when you take it there,
the police will say, what did he do? Okay.
He's trying to
lock him up.
But then again, so I think
there are so many things to it.
I think predominantly, I know I had this discussion with a few persons. Standard Organization of Nigeria, National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, whether we like it or not, I think there's a falling short of processes. Let's call a spade a spade.
Well,
let's call a spade, and I will say why, and I stand to be corrected, because this is national TV.
You sit to be corrected.
Whether we like it or not, when last, because you're also a journalist, when last did you see a data or a list of information like this that comes out currently quarterly?
And that's why
when last did you also see, I agree with you 100% that the systems are completely shambles.
So the thing is that the Standards Organization the other one,
NAFDAC,
and all. You see, West is a system, and it must be a system. And where you think that, like I always say, systems are based around individuals, that's where we make the mistake. So those systems, if we're not checking Olive, who's out there importing those things, of course that system must go from, if the man who brings it in or manufactures it does it well, what happens to when it gets to the table or to the consumer? Have they followed the process that is meant to follow? Do they clean it properly? Do they store it in the right places? And these are all things. But of course, there's so many, like I said, the level of poverty has turned
and
Nigeria.
I completely agree with Uade.
And turned Nigeria. And I don't say it's right, don't get me wrong, but the level of poverty has I just need to survive.
Uade, there's another aspect to it as well. You've mentioned poverty, and that's a very key part, because those who are, at the lower echelons of society, the malam who's selling with his wheelbarrow, and the woman who has a stall, she's first of all thinking about electricity and power. Our post-harvest storage, we have issues with that.
So
there's a power angle to it.
So
and they cannot lose their money. And I will never, ever support them doing these acts, because it invariably hurts us.
It hurts them too. Because, sometimes when people say all these things, after some time, so let me give an example. There's so much wastage. Like you said, power, no storage, no proper way to store things and everything. Even when you have a warehouse, people go in there and steal your goods. So because first and foremost, the level of poverty has killed systems, and even those within the system are not even trying to help. Because in those days, and I grew up in this Lagos, sanitation workers used to walk around.
No, they don't. They don't anymore.
Nobody does anything except they see something being done. I remember, just one last thing. I remember when they were fixing my road that had not been fixed for years. And there's a woman who sells just by there. And then what's it called? Of course, there's a drain where water is supposed to go into. And I specifically told them that if you don't block off this drain with a gauze or something, are you with me? Or have enough, it's going to turn into a refuse space. And I've seen it happening. What am I going to do? But of course, the cleaners will come and clean the road every day, but that's the best they can do. Unfortunately, they leave it on a heap and nobody packs it. So that's the reality. And unfortunately, it's completely wrong, and I am against it.
We're going to take this conversation a little further here on Breakfast Central, especially that story in particular, looking at how the laws are adapting and how it's affecting every single person. Thank you, Uade, for being here.
Thank you for having me, as usual.